Good morning, guys. Well, it's morning for me anyway. Thank you so much for joining me for this process video. I am scrapbooking a picture of my oldest son, Justin, who is almost 22, and I'm using the Darling Deer collection. I picked it up at Tuesday morning for $3.99 the other day, and there were always a couple of papers that I liked out of it, but I didn't like the rest of them. Lately, I've been challenging myself to use papers that I don't necessarily care for, but they came like with collections or they're just papers that I have, and I'm trying to kind of expand my horizons, if you will, and use things that I don't normally use, because just because I don't like it doesn't mean that he won't like it. And this is a pretty masculine collection, so I really struggle a lot with this layout, as you'll see. But in the end, it turns out okay. It's not my favorite. They're not my favorite papers, and it's not my favorite layout. But, you can decide for yourself whether or not you like it. What I did was I cut 3 pieces of paper into different size strips, and I glued them all together to make a 12 by 12 piece of paper here. I also followed a sketch off Pinterest for this layout. And I probably struggled a little because of that, because I'm not good at following sketches. I usually start out okay, and then I end up drifting away from it and doing my own thing. But I really tried to stick to the sketch this time, and it did come out just like the sketch, but you'll just see me struggle a lot during this layout. So right now I'm cutting off the white borders around my photo. Sometimes I like to have a border around them, but sometimes I don't. So lately I've noticed that I kind of don't. It might just be a phase that I'm going through. So the sketch called for a long, skinny layer and then a shorter, wider layer on top of that. And I'm just trying to pick out photos to do that with. And right now I'm writing down the date of the photo that was on the back of the picture. That's what I was just doing, so I would remember to put that somewhere. And I'm going through the papers and trying to find a paper to mat the photo on. I wanted something dark, but like I said, I don't really like a lot of the papers in this collection, so it was kind of hard for me. So I started to mat it on this, and you'll see in a few minutes that I pull it up and change it, but this was going to be my photo mat for a minute. And then I chose this green paper, so I ended up matting it on the green paper. And I may even change that. I can't remember, but it seems like I ended up matting it on something else. So part of the sketch had a banner sort of thing going across the middle of the page, and that's what I'm doing now, is just cutting it. But I cut it too short, so I'm going to end up having to recut it, or recut a new one in just a few minutes. And I'm still searching for that layer, or the matting. I pulled it off the green, and I'm looking for something else to mat it on. So I decided on this chevron-y looking paper for my first layer, and the black camera paper for my photo mat. And I like that better, much better. And I think that chevron paper pulls in all the colors nicely, so even though I don't care for the papers, they all kind of come together with that chevron paper. Unfortunately, I end up covering most of that up with that wider, shorter piece. And that was the layer that I had a really hard time with, that numbered paper with the gray, or the gray paper with the numbers. That was the page that I couldn't figure out what to use on top of that chevron. So I finally decided on this. And then I'm going to go ahead and notice that my banner is too short, so I'm going to cut another one out of that orange paper. And then I'll start adhering everything down, I think. We'll wait and see. So I don't know where this picture came from. I just found it in my camera one day. I guess he had been playing around with it. And it was a long time ago. It was like 2011. And I knew it was a while ago because I could tell by the size of his earring things. He's got those plug things in his ears, and they're really big right now. But I can kind of tell the years by the size of them because he's been getting them bigger and bigger over the years. So you can see they're about the size of a quarter or something in this picture. And that was like in 2011. Okay, so I adhered the banner down there. And then there's this die cut that says hello. And I really wanted to use that, so I put that down there on the bottom. And then one of the little cut apart cards had this camera, and it's like a retro vintage looking camera, and it was orange, and I just thought it was really cool. So I cut it out of the little card, and I'm going to put that on foam tape and pop that up on the top left corner. And I'm sorry that my layout's not completely in view here, but I didn't zoom out enough. So next time I know to zoom out a little bit more. And I'm going to take my sewing machine out and sew a border, like a really tight zigzag border around the page. And I kind of screwed this up a little bit too because I'm not the best at sewing and I can't seem to sew a perfectly straight line. And I have trouble with my corners. But I just kept going, and you'll see in the final picture that it is kind of crooked, but if you don't really know, then you don't know to look. You probably wouldn't notice. And I had to peel up a couple of my little die cuts there so that I could sew underneath them. But I kind of like the look of the zigzag that's really tight. I've never done that before. I've always used that big, the zigzag that's kind of far apart, but the really tight one looks pretty cool. It's not as cutesy. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's less cutesy. And I'm using navy blue thread here. So I'm finished sewing. I'm just going to put my sewing machine under my desk, which is where I keep it. And if you guys happen to know anybody that can make a sewing machine cover, I really need one because mine gets dusty and, every once in a while it'll get a dog hair on it or something. And because I keep it on the floor under my desk. And I vacuum every day because of my dog. If you don't vacuum every day, there'll be puffs of hair all over the place because I have a St. Bernard named Abby. But anyway, I really want to make or get someone to make me a cover for my sewing machine, or if somebody could, if I could find directions on how to do it myself, I could do it myself. So if you guys know how or know anybody that does it, could you let me know? Okay, I'm out of time, so that's the layout. Thanks for watching. I will be back soon with another. Have a great 4th of July.